Hello, and welcome to week 6, Letter to Past Self. So, for this week, we were preparing the end of Lacnonaut, the leading into a dream, relaxing mind game. For Lacnonaut, majority of what we had to do between me and Ava was to try and fix up as many little errors as we can in the game and test the cloud area with and also with the sound. So a lot of the smallest details was making sure that the gates were opening at the correct time, playing the right sound effects at the correct time, as well as when the player got to the end, it would create like a bubbles and cubes surrounding it, so that it will look nice and it didn't look like uh, and so then I had a smoother transition between the two, as well as fixing some small errors with the sound effects. We noticed that a lot of the sound effects were not very loud, as well as we kind of got confused with the what each name was. So we waited until I believe Monday or Thursday to test it either ourselves. Yeah, spent Monday trying to fix it ourselves, and then on Thursday we spoke to our teammate Alice to help fix with us. As well as it was our job to get the Itch.io page set up, and we had a great idea in which we wanted the banner image to be a split cut of every single level and stuff, which was something that we have never done, but was very excited to learn how to do, and I believe that we did a great job. It probably at this moment is the best banner that we've created to date. Uh, as well as we were gathering screenshots for the game as well. Majority of the screenshots that I wanted to find and look for was either a really pretty shot of the game or uh, or something that showcased something unique about it, like either a particle effect happening and stuff. I will say that the images that I did use look pretty and stuff, but they could have been way more effective if I used GIFs, because a lot of our games, like feeling and emotion, comes from the visual effects. The audio is a massive part into it, but a lot of the visual effects and the changing of how things look and react in the game is key. So I should have made gifts and stuff and put them online, but didn't. I might do that in later weeks or in week 13 to add more to it. But what I really kind of wanted to reflect on about this project is in general. I felt that what we did was alright. We did fall behind a little bit in where some cases we didn't do what we needed to get done, but in general, we were able to keep up with the demands of ourselves and our teammates and able to produce something quite beautiful. But what was really bad was communicating to my teammates and stuff, because we had really bad audio naming conventions, not due to our audio students' fault, but for both myself and Ava's, because we needed to set standards into how we should view and look at things, and we didn't do that, and that's how bad. As well as since we didn't also communicate very well, we didn't even really tell our audio student the fact that like a lot of the audio sound effects were like loud. We did, I think, in week 3 when we put them in and noticed that that the noises were weird and stuff. We tried to fixing it ourselves, but we should have really kind of asked our audio student, or at least Aaron, our teacher, to help us fix it. We did, but it didn't totally fix the issue. As well as when Alice came in, she allowed us to make the audio a lot better into how she predicted on how the game's audio sound effects would work within it. But it was in general I think we went really well with this project. I really enjoyed it. I loved working with Ava and would definitely work with Alice again. I'm very proud on how I designed the Ichio page. I will say that the background in the page needs to be more improved, but in general, it is alright. I like the advantage, and that's great. Cool. So let's move on to the next part, the next thing we did. So on Thursday, as well as finishing up the project and adding small details, we went to Goma to figure out what exactly our next game and project was going to be. So I walked around Goma and was trying to figure out what ideas and what things were coming to me. Because our goal was to go into Goma, look at a piece of art, analyze it, figure out what it means to us and how it makes us feel, and then portray that feeling and immersion into a game. I spent mostly my entire time walking with Ava so then we could consistently talk about how we feel about the art, as well as so that we can get a different perspective and compare it to our own. I found that that was a really unique experience because it helped me clarify in ways how I understand the art, as well as definitely towards Ava. She got to understand more on my interpretation and agreed most of the time with me, which I found was really cool. But as I was walking around, the things that kept going into my head was what aspect can I transformatively make this into a game? And any one idea that I had, I wrote it down. And throughout walking through all of it, I had two different options, which was my favorite piece in Goma, which is just letters that are changing rapidly and just giving different sentences and stuff. I really like this piece of art because it speaks to me in a way that in a literal way in which I feel like it's trying to communicate to something to me, but then it goes off and then forgets about it. I think now upon reflection, it kind of reminds me on how I personally think and the many rabbit holes I go down when I get distracted is in which I go in one direction and then stop and then go a different way, completely forgetting what I just said. And it kind of reminds me on how I think and all that kind of stuff. And it was really interesting. And so I really like that. But I didn't see how I could transform this into a game without it being the literal thing. And I kind of felt I could do better. And we went and continued to walk around and stuff. But I wrote it down and wrote some of my ideas on how I felt about it. And then as we were walking around, we went upstairs, and I didn't use this, but I found it really cool. Was this cross with TVs and stuff, and to me, it instantly reminded me of my childhood, because it was singing African music and stuff, and I grew up in Lutheran church, and we listened to a lot of African choirs, and that just instantly brought me back to my childhood. I felt very at home and kind of reminded me of my faith, but I don't really have one. It's just my fallback if I panic because I feel like that's what happens. But it was really cool. I just really appreciated it. But I didn't want to write anything about it because I couldn't think of any ideas besides like random strings of sentences that are appearing. Which is like the first one, so it continued on. And as we were walking around the top level of Goma, I stopped and looked at this animation that was in a corner, and it was called Flow, and I found it was the most strangest and bizarrest thing I was watching, as well as it was all in claymation. I've loved claymation since I was a child. It was not my favorite animation, but I just loved Wallace and Gromit so much, as well as Shaun the Sheep. So it was like really it drew me in, as well as with the music, and like reading more about what its message was. It just drew me in, and I knew instantly that this was the game. This was the piece of art that was going to help me with my game, like with creating a game from it. and majority of what I wrote about this piece of art was is that community is lost of identity. It's very easy to fall into the whole of social media, because what he said about the piece of art uh, is how his small town, I forget where, is being being like overrun with social media and stuff, and that they're losing their own culture themselves into the crowd of mindless other people that who are falling in. And he also based this off of other thing. He based this off other a different metaphor in which he used it, which was about like bulls and stuff. I forget what the metaphor is. My bad. But it really inspired me into create the game I was thinking, and I knew it had to be something literal with the cows and stuff, with the bulls, and I kind of, and since I wrote down community is a loss of identity, it started made me thinking of ways in which where has social media has become one and the same. I'm just looking at the same thing. It's just blah, hot garbage. I more or less thing, and I immediately thought of Instagram, because visually of what I see and what most people make fun of is it's just like it's that it girl, and it's what they look like. So that was what I was thinking and pondering in my head. Anyway, we get towards the end of the day where we sit down with Aaron and Rose and also Ava, and we discuss our ideas. And I was telling them, like, my idea for the game is to make it about Instagram cows who come up to you and ask to be like, hey, can you change my look and stuff so to look like this particular cow and stuff. And I wanted it to be about how you had to keep changing all these cows, and then when it gets to the end of the game, you would change yourself. When I was expressing these like thoughts and thought processes, I didn't know exactly what the game was going to be or how it was going to look like, but uh, as well as both Aaron and Rose didn't either, and they helped me think through it and what I got out of it. They said they really liked it, but still didn't know exactly what the game was going to be. So when I got home that day, I kind of honed down on different ideas. One of them being the fact that where we have you as someone that who has to change themselves at the end of the game, because that kind of hits home and towards the message of what the game is and stuff. And I wanted the mechanics to be really simple, in which you're just changing the hair, eyes, blush, and lips of each one of these cows, so then I can quickly get all the assets and stuff and make it super easy to produce game mechanically wise. So our project is by next week is to have that all organized and have hopefully by this next audio letter to past self a fully game in which I'm pretty excited to create, because I like that piece of art and it's gonna be great. Anyway, I'm gonna just do a quick review of what this week's media of other content is, and oh boy, was it hot garbage. So this week I had two of my friends over and we were like, hey, let's just watch something, and I saw that the Daphne and Velma movie was out on Netflix, and oh my lord, I did not enjoy this movie. Quick recap of what happens is that Daphne's family is rich, and her entire life has been, and she has never really been with Velma. Velma's just kind of there, and they've been internet sleuths and stuff, and just solving crimes online. And Velma goes to this really rich school with all the smartest kids in the world, and Daphne is really rich and travels around the world with her family and stuff. Anyway, we get to a point in which her entire life is lucky, in which some bizarre lucky things keep happening to her, which doesn't make sense or add up, and she didn't understand it, but she was just like, "Oh, I'm lucky." Anyway, it turns out that her dad has been following her entire life and has been making it so that she can win and succeed at everything. And it's just, oh my lord, this movie is hot garbage. Anyway, it turns out that the mean girl is the thing, is the evil person, and it's just like, it just kind of reinforced that this is why I love garbage movies, and you should probably watch garbage movies to laugh and point fun of, because that's what most of my friends did. It was a weird movie. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna go enjoy the audio. Blah.